on Friday, and I hadn't gotten.
No, this is one of those.
Good afternoon on Zoom. Can you all hear me? All right, I'm seeing a few nods out there. Well, good afternoon again. I'd like to call the Riverside Transit Agency regular meeting of the Board of Directors to order at 2 p.m. Thank you for joining us today, March 24th, 2022. For those of you participating virtually, please ensure that you're in a quiet environment with no background noise. Please mute your phone until you're called upon by the chair or the clerk to speak. To ensure we have an organized opportunity for everyone to speak, I will call upon each group separately. When your group number is called, please announce your name and then proceed with your comments or questions. I will ask the public to speak after the board. Once called upon to speak, please unmute your device, then speak. Please remember to place your phone back on mute after speaking. Will the clerk please take the roll?
City of Banning, City of Beaumont, City of Calamasa,
Present.
City of Canyon Lake,
Canyon Lake is here.
City of Corona,
Here.
City of Eastvale,
Here.
City of Hemet, here, City of Harupa Valley,
Here.
City of Lake Elsinore,
Here on Zoom.
City of Menifee,
Here.
City of Moreno Valley,
Here.
City of Murrieta,
Here.
City of Norco,
Here.
City of Paris,
Here on Zoom.
City of Riverside,
Here.
City of San Jacinto, City of Temecula,
Here.
City of Wildemar,
Here.
County of Riverside District 1,
Here.
County of Riverside District 2, County of Riverside District 3,
Here on Zoom.
County of Riverside District 5.
Here.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Joan. And I would just like to ask that you all give us a little patience with the Zoom as I'm trying to, you can see I'm trying to look over to the screen to make sure I'm not missing one on Zoom while also actively engaging the folks that are here in person. So with that, we're going to all please rise and I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you may be seated. Item number 4 is public comments for non-agenda items. Joan, would you please read the directions for public comments?
Members of the public may address the board regarding any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. However, no action may be taken on off-agenda items unless authorized by law. Comments shall be limited to matters not listed on the agenda. Members of the public may comment on any matter listed on the agenda at the time that the board considers that matter. Each person's presentation is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes.
Has the clerk received any requests to speak in writing?
Yes, Chair. I received a comment from Maria Lopez, Riverside resident, who would like her comment read by staff.
Thank you. Would you please read the comment?
Dear board members, I can't thank you enough for the recent changes to Route 15. The bus is getting to the students earlier and they are no longer rushing or being late to school. I like to also thank the staff, especially Stephanie, who has been really helpful. I love communication and she's been amazing. I hope to see a lot more kids ride the bus. Thank you again for the opportunity to address this to you and see a resolution to this important issue. Thank you again, Board of Directors. Sincerely, Maria Lopez.
Thank you very much, Joan. It's very nice to hear a thank you, and I appreciate staff's hard work on making that right for that resident. Appreciate it. All right, is there anyone in the audience that would like to make comments of items not listed on the agenda? Okay. Is there anyone online on Zoom that would like to make comments on items not listed on the agenda? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised. Hearing no more, the public comment portion for items not listed on the agenda is now closed. All right, Joan. All right. Okay, although the group assignments have not changed, Joan, please read the board member group assignments.
Thank you, Chair. Group 1, Alberto Sanchez, Ray Santos, Linda Molina, Bridget Moore, and Alonzo Ledesma. Group 2, Jeremy Smith, Jim Steiner, Timothy J. Sheridan, Dean Dinas, Cindy Warren, and Linda Krupa. Group 3, Jocelyn Yao, Brian Berkson, David Marquez, Ted Hoffman, Malcolm Corona, and Steve Hemingway. And Group 4, Karen Spiegel, Jerry Sensich, Andrea Mars, and Art Welch.
Thank you very much, Joan. Next is item number 5, which is our presentation to Mary Helen Morales. Ms. Morales, would you please join me up at the podium, please? Okay, a Hero Award for Mary Helen Morales. Every year, RTA drivers go far beyond the call of duty to help others in need, proving time and time again they do so much more than just move people from place to place. That's just what happened on the morning of November 11th when Mary Helen Morales was driving her Route 22 bus from Riverside to Paris to start her shift. As she was driving on the 215 freeway near Box Springs Road, she saw 2 cars, a van and a box truck, collide and disappear into a massive plume of smoke. Without hesitation, Mary Helen pulled her bus over, grabbed her radio, and ran to the scene of the accident. When she got close to the crumbled van, she could hear the sounds of crying and kids trapped inside. There were 3 of them. One of them was tangled and caught in her seatbelt. Mary Helen ran to the back of her bus, grabbed her seatbelt cutter, which she carried for emergencies, and then back to the van where she cut the little girl free and moved her away from the vehicle. Sadly, the driver of the van was killed in the crash, and the passenger, who was still alive, had to be removed by emergency personnel. Thanks to Mary Helen's quick thinking, the children involved in that accident were protected and rushed to safety. Mary Helen's extraordinary actions represent the finest example of heroism, and RTA salutes her for her service both on and off the streets. Nice job, Mary Helen. Thank you. As a token of our appreciation, please accept this Hero Award on behalf of the Riverside Transit Agency Board of Directors. And if you feel so compelled to share a little bit of your story or some words with us, we'd appreciate that.
Hello. Excuse me. I just want to say that I didn't do any of that to be recognized or anything like that. I am a mother And I did anything that any other mother would do, which is help other children. And he's right. We as operators, we're out there and we see things firsthand. And we have to spring into action, not even just driving safely out there with road conditions, weather, people just walking across or other cars cutting us off, but also trying to keep everybody safe as well. So I think that's one thing for me as operator. My thing was to help and to save people if that's what I'm capable of doing. So that day, that's all I could do was think of helping people. And working for RTA, I think it pushed me even more to be brave and be able to do things like that. So thank you guys.
Mary Helen, you certainly exemplify everything that RTA stands for, and we appreciate you every day. Okay. Next is item number 6, our legislative update. Would everyone please welcome David Turch of David Turch and Associates at our podium. Welcome, David. Oh, Director Krupp is asking us to stand for you.
Hardly anyone does. $25 million. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ms. Borsinski, I mentioned 25 million so you'd pay attention to what I have to say. I thought it was a good lead. Let me start, if I could have just a moment of personal indulgence for Lake Elsinore on Zoom. Congratulations, that was a major federal win announced just minutes ago. Good for you guys. Back to RTA. The first thing I think I'd say is that Washington is a little bit different than the Washington I've been talking to you about over these many years. We're engaged in more bipartisanship than I think you understand watching the news or understanding the results of what's happened. Major pieces of legislation are being passed in a bipartisan manner, both sides. It's how the infrastructure bill came to be. Besides that, there are groups that you don't know about that never make the news. The Bipartisan Caucus, as an example, 28 members of the House meet every week. What can we do to make this place function to advance America's interest in a bipartisan manner? There's a group of senators, it varies from 8 to 12, evenly divided between and among the parties, bipartisanship. We're not totally bipartisan yet. I think it'd be a bad idea if we were at some point. We need that friction. Nonetheless, know that Washington is different than the Washington you've been looking at for the last year and a half. When President Trump took office, the first time I addressed you, I said there was a great deficit in the number of federal appointments that were being made, and it mattered. Today, that situation still exists, and it matters to us, and it matters to you, which is why I talk about it. Of the 1,400, really 800 that are critical appointments, we're talking deputy secretaries, assistant administrators. Only about 4 in 10 have been filled today. This is hardly different than the Trump administration. The only difference being the former president didn't make the nominations. President Biden has made the nomination, but under the Senate rules, those nominations are being held up for not always a germane cause. But understand that it can affect institutions like you. If you remember back a couple of years ago, and I can't remember exactly what the issue was that you had with with the FTA. This should have required a telephone call for its resolution. Instead, I spent 2.5 weeks on this, and in the end, as I recall, we were bumping up against a deadline at which funds that were allocated were going to be rescinded, so we had to complete the project, but we weren't sure we could get there by the deadline. This is a phone call, guys, from me to the deputy administrator. That's all it takes. 2.5 weeks later, on a conference call involving you, involving 20 people from the FTA from Washington to San Fran, we get it resolved, and we get it resolved because you promise to move a little bit more expeditiously on your expenditures for the project, and they agree to slow walk the paperwork. It's not how government ought to be working, and when we don't have people sitting at those desks, that's the deficiency. And we're in that deficiency again today. We're just awash in money in Washington. And if there's any message I want to leave with you today, that's it. Greed today is not going to be sinful. And in 3 years, or 4 years, or 5 years, this pendulum is going to swing. You understand, I'm an old dog. I've been there for a long time. I've watched how this works. And in 3 or 4 or 5 years, oh gosh, we have this huge deficit and we have to stop spending money and rescind everything we've allocated in the last couple of years. Folks, get your act together today. Make the requests that you have that are so important to this community and this institution. But now is the time. So where have we been? Well, we've had the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Think about this. I've been an active participant in every major infrastructure bill we've had since Ice-T going back to the mid-'80s. So where are we today? We have an infrastructure bill that is 4 or 5 times larger than any other bill we've had. $1.3 trillion, we're not even sure how much money is in it. Get your requests together, let's start tapping those funds. We have the American Rescue Plan. There's still tranches of that money coming down to you. That's in part how you wound up with the $25 million. And I can say congratulations on the $25 million. You know, in this economy, every $25 million helps. It really does. We had an Omnibus Bill. Of course, you've heard me talk about that before. One of the prime obligations of the United States Congress under the Constitution is to fund the activities of the rest of the federal government, well, including the legislative branch. They have to do this by 12:01 a.m. of October 1st every year. We just finished it. So we have an omnibus bill. Actually, it was kind of funny because we took 2 votes on the same bill. It's called the division of the question. It's kind of at least if you're into government, you'll find that interesting. So you could vote for and against parts of the same bill without ever segregating the bill out. So it passed by different majorities, but it still passed, so it didn't matter. There's money in that for you. We're looking ahead now to fiscal 23. Remember the word that I can't say, that I would never use again in a public forum? Earmarks. Oh, I'm sorry. We're now calling them community funding initiatives. It's the same thing. And if you remember, I was like the king of earmarks. You've done really well in this institution with earmarks. Let's go back to them. Community public initiatives. The rules are a little bit different. They're now limited to 10 requests per member. The transparency is different. How you go about it is different. And institutions that qualify are different, but you qualify. So let's get our act together. Let's be making those requests for fiscal 23 year money. And again, I think if there's any word that I want to leave you today, it's that We have so much money in Washington, we don't know how to spend it. So it sounds funny. I'll use as a non-germane example, the Federal Aviation Administration is creating an entirely new division to just figure out how to get rid of the money that's been given to them. It's where we are. Let's take advantage of this. We have some time, but we don't have forever time. So the next few years matter before we get back to, I'm beginning to fear the deficit myself, just thinking about it. But in any event, let's get our act together. We'll work as closely as we can. You give us the direction that you want us to take. We'll take it, we'll win. I'm going to ask that you make a visit back to Washington. Washington's changing. We've reopened the visitor center on a very limited basis. It's been a couple of years since you've been able to even get in the buildings. But now those visits start to matter. Fiscal 20-year hearings and the requests and whatever else we do are going to take place in the next few weeks and the next couple of months. Let's be looking ahead to late spring, early summer. Think about coming to Washington. It matters. Members of Congress like to see you. They don't like to see me. I'll tell you, I'm lucky to get a minute, and then it's pretty technical. They'll talk to you about fishing and whatever for a half an hour at a time, and they smile at you. You know, the last time a member of Congress smiled at me, I don't know that it ever happened. Any event, I would welcome you there. Think about coming. There's a lot of money to be had, and your riders, your commuters, the citizens of your communities deserve to participate in some of that money. We just need to make our requests expeditiously and reasonably. Now, if there are any questions, I understand Mr. Kevin Bosch and my staff is on Zoom to answer them for you.
Wonderful. David, it's always a pleasure to see you, and so glad that you came out here. We're lucky to have you in DC, that's for sure. So thank you. We're going to have some questions, I would assume, though. And since we are in this hybrid format, are there any questions from group number 1? And I'm not seeing anyone online. And if anyone on staff sees something jump up, please let me know. Any comments from group number 2?
Tim Sheridan from Lake Elsinore.
Go ahead, Director Sheridan.
Thank you. I just want to say to Mr. Church, thank you for your comment regarding Lake Elsinore. Obviously, they're working on the memos to send out, but it is great news, and I thank Mr. Bosch for letting me know about it. I also just want to say thank you for your comments today. Very enlightening and appreciative. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Director Sheridan. Anyone else from group 2 before we move on to group 3? Hey, group number 3, any questions or comments from group number 3? Okay, we'll move on to group number 4. Director Spiegel.
So I have a quick question. We already did one round of earmarks. They seem to be a little bit different because I do know that Congressman Calvert had an earmark in for a project, not for RTA, but another one in our district in Riverside County. It was only $5 million for the widening of a roadway, and it got knocked out. I don't remember earmarks working that way before.
Mr. Bosch, would you like to address that?
I can't, I don't know if I can address that specifically, but there are projects are submitted by the members to the Appropriations Committee, and not all of the appropriations projects submitted to the committee are actually accepted and are funded. I know, for example, our project in Lake Elsinore, your Main Streets pedestrian and safety improvement projects for $400,000 was submitted, and it stayed there. And so it kind of depends upon the project and the member. But I would say Ken Calvert generally has been a very he has definitely been an advocate and a supporter for RTA and in the congressional district that he represents. He's very good at what he does, and he's a senior appropriator now, and he's one of the people that we really and that we work with very closely on a lot of the stuff.
So where I was leading with that, if he's on appropriations and he submitted it and it didn't come through, that's concerning. And I do know that in California, we have a challenging time. Riverside County is known to get the lesser amount. And I do know that's also true in DC, but I didn't realize, I didn't know if that was the path that you're seeing. Are we still kind of on that bottom feeder list? Or do you see that there's possibilities? I mean, you're encouraging everybody to submit, and I certainly do. But you know, are we still being treated the same as we have been in the past?
I think I can't address all the treatment of the past, but I think the answer to that is simply that not everything that's submitted is approved. As a firm, we're anxious to achieve your goals. So if we don't win on day one, we'll win on day two. We'll do it through a different matter. The idea is not necessarily because we think it's a water project that has to come out of water funds. As I say, you never care where the money comes from because money is fungible. You don't care if it comes out of the Navy submarine budget to run your buses. What's the match? What's the paperwork requirement? We're wading through, remember, as a firm, we have far more expertise in dealing with earmarks, as does Congressman or Chairman Calvert, as I like to refer to Ken, than most members of Congress. They've never been there before. They haven't been through this process. They don't know exactly how it works. And there is vetting that goes on. So just because we submit it doesn't mean automatically it's going to be approved. In the case of Ken Calvert, he's going to get most of what he asks for.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
And if I might follow up also, that a lot of the big dollar, the more senior you tend to be on the appropriations committee, the more money that you have the opportunity to steer towards your state and your home district. That's just a simple fact. I mean, Senator Shelby steered $450 million to Alabama, and that's just he's there, and he's got one more year, and that's what he wants to do.
All right, thank you. Are there any more questions or comments from group number 4? Okay, I'm not seeing none. Mr. Turch, really appreciate you coming today and advocating for us in DC, and maybe I'll hope to see you out there in summertime.
Well, thank all of you for listening to me, and I want to thank you for the new lapel pin, and I will tell you, I will never take it off.
It looks great.
And if I might say one thing before I leave, I would like to say thank you to Jim Neepkins and the work that we do together.
Thank you, and thank you, Kevin, for taking our questions and being there and advocating for us as well. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
All right, we'll move on to item number 7, which is approval of the minutes for February 24th, 2022, our board meeting. Does anyone have any comments or corrections for the minutes? Okay, I'm not seeing none. I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
Moreno Valley.
Second.
Okay, we have
Second, Beaumont.
Joan, did you get that?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Will you please take the roll call vote?
City of Banning. City of Beaumont.
Aye.
City of Calamasa.
Yes.
City of Canyon Lake.
Aye.
City of Corona.
Yes.
City of Eastvale.
Yes.
City of Hemet.
Yes.
City of Harupa Valley.
Yes.
City of Lake Elsinore.
Aye.
City of Menifee.
Yes.
City of Moreno Valley.
Yes.
City of Murrieta.
Yes.
City of Norco.
Yes.
City of Paris.
Yes.
City of Riverside,
Yes.
City of San Jacinto, City of Temecula,
Yes.
City of Wildemar,
Yes.
County of Riverside District 1,
Abstain.
County of Riverside District 2,
Yes.
County of Riverside District 3,
Yes.
County of Riverside District 5.
Yes.
Chair, that is 19 yea, 1 abstention.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joan. Next is item number 8, our consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar will be approved by one motion, and there will be no discussion on individual items unless a board member or member of the public requests a specific item to be pulled from the calendar for separate discussion. Does any board member from group number 1 wish to pull an item for discussion? Does any board member from group 2 wish to pull an item for discussion? Does any board member from group 3 wish to pull an item for discussion? Does any board member from group 4 wish to pull an item for discussion? Does any member of the public in the audience or on the phone wish to pull an item for discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent.
Calamasa moves.
Corona second.
Wildemar second.
Okay, we have a Calamasa and a Corona second. Joan, will you please take the roll call vote?
City of Beaumont,
Aye.
City of Calamasa,
Aye.
City of Canyon Lake,
Aye.
City of Corona,
Aye.
City of Eastvale,
Yes.
City of Hemet,
Yes.
City of Harupa Valley,
Yes.
City of Lake Elsinore,
Aye.
City of Menifee,
Yes.
City of Moreno Valley,
Yes.
City of Murrieta,
Yes.
City of Norco,
Yes.
City of Paris,
Yes.
City of Riverside,
Yes.
City of Temecula,
Yes.
City of Wildemar,
Yes.
County of Riverside District 1,
Yes.
County of Riverside District 2,
Yes.
County of Riverside District 3,
Yes.
County of Riverside District 5.
Yes.
Chair, that is 20 yeas, unanimous.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Next is item number 9, telephone and virtual conferencing policy for Board of Director committee meetings and our regular meetings. Laura Camacho can present if needed. I'm not certain that we actually need a presentation though. I think we're pretty straightforward. I'll just open it up for discussion. Are there any questions or comments from group number 1 about our telephone and virtual conferencing policy? We are a quiet group today. Group number 2, any questions or comments? Go ahead, Director Krupa.
My only question is, I mean, we're still in legal boundaries if we continue the way we are going right now?
I didn't hear the first part of it, sorry.
Oh, I mean, because right now it's hybrid for the board and it's virtual for committee meetings and T-Now meetings.
Correct.
Legally, can we continue that for another month?
You can. There's some proposed legislation right now that's unlikely to pass, is what I'm hearing, but that may eliminate the state of emergency. And if that happens, then we have to go back to regular teleconferencing requirements. But for now, yes, you can continue in this format so long as you make the findings that the state of emergency continues to directly impact all the committees and the board to meet safely in person, and so long as the state of emergency directly impacts, yes, the board, those two committees and all the committees and the board to continue meeting this way for safety reasons.
Okay, I have one more follow-up on that, because it just occurred to me the other day that while this board and the committees are made up of elected officials, board members, but our T-Now meetings are made up of citizens and board members. Are the T-Now meetings governed under the same Brown Act or meeting rules that elected officials would if the state of emergency goes away?
Meaning,
Meaning, could T-Now still be virtual? And,
right, so no, T-Now would not be subject to the same Brown Act requirements.
okay,
Actually, if I may, Chair.
Yes, please.
So when the pandemic hit, we did look into this. My understanding, Barbara, is that because of how T-Now was formed through the board, it is subject to the Brown Act. We post the agendas and everything. So in that case, I don't know that we can continue, even though there's community members present.
So, that are part of the committee. So I apologize, I've never actually attended a T-Now meeting, so I'm
So there's
not as
board
familiar
members
with that.
and community.
Okay.
yeah.
That serve on the committee, but then it's still a committee that's basically, it's a standing committee that's been formed by the board to meet regularly.
Right.
If it's a standing committee that's been formed by the board to meet regularly, then it is still subject to the Brown Act, and it would fall under the same requirements as the other committees.
Okay, okay. Because that is one of the good things that has happened during the pandemic and going on virtual meetings, is that I think all the chapters have seen increased attendance at the T-Now meetings to get information, and that's what that one is about, is to get input from the public, not necessarily from us as electeds. So that was my question, whether or not we could do that.
So I believe that the committee the public members could still appear virtually, but it would be a function of the board members that are part of that committee. Those individuals would have to appear in person, and if those individuals appear in a different location, if the state of emergency is removed, then you'd still have to follow the regular teleconferencing requirements. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
But again, that's contingent on the state of emergency no longer being in effect.
Right. All right. Thank you.
And maybe before moving on, to just follow up on the T-Now conversation, is perhaps there's a conversation to be had with sort of changing that board policy, right? And saying, we have seen a significant increase in public outreach and in that virtual format, and maybe sort of codifying that virtual format for opportunities moving forward once the state of emergency ends. So maybe that's something we can look at. Okay, any more questions or comments from group number 2? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Group 3. Group 4. All right. Has the clerk received any requests to speak in writing?
Chair, I have not.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience or online that would like to make a comment on this item? Okay. Hearing none, I'll certainly now entertain a motion to, I'll entertain a motion if someone would like to make a motion for next month's board meeting.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we continue in April the same way we are in March.
Calamesa seconds.
Okay, we have a motion to continue with the hybrid model for one more month and a second. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll call vote?
Did they talk about the committee?
City of Banning,
Madam Clerk, just 1 second.
City of Beaumont,
Okay.
Oh.
As long as she's saying that, because I thought she said hybrid. Okay.
Aye.
City of Calamasa,
Yes.
City of Canyon Lake,
Aye.
City of Corona,
Yes.
City of Eastville,
Yes.
City of Hemet,
Yes.
City of Harupa Valley,
Yes.
City of Lake Elsinore,
Aye.
City of Menifee,
Yes.
City of Moreno Valley,
Yes.
City of Murrieta,
Yes.
City of Norco,
Yes.
City of Paris,
Yes.
City of Riverside,
Yes.
City of San Jacinto, City of Temecula,
Yes.
City of Wildemar,
Yes.
County of Riverside District 1,
Yes.
County of Riverside District 2,
Yes.
County of Riverside District 3,
Yes.
County of Riverside District 5.
Yes.
Chair, that is 20 yeas, unanimous.
Hey, thank you very much. And just to be clear, that was for our board meetings and for our committee meetings as well, to maintain that. Hey, thank you very much. Next is item number 10, our rider survey report. Welcome, Jim Neepkins will present. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Chair Schwank, members of the board. Last fall, we hired the firm of Creative Productions to help us do an onboard rider survey. And at the time, our intent was to get the shifts in ridership behavior post-pandemic and also just get a snapshot of our riders. If you remember, in 2018, we had a firm come before you and give results of our ridership and trends in ridership prior to the pandemic. This was to get a feel for after the pandemic and to give us direction on where we need to go. The firm did complete that survey last fall. You have a copy of the final report in your board packet, but today Deborah Castro, the CEO and president of Creative Productions, would like to give you a quick overview of some of the highlights of that survey and then be available for questions. So Deborah?
Welcome.
Thank you, Jim, Chair Schwank, and CEO Orsinski. I'm Deborah Castro, and this is my colleague, John Carter, PhD, who is the research director, who's joining me today. Thank you very much. Let's begin. So the survey objectives were to determine shifts in ridership behavior due to the pandemic, as Jim mentioned, and determine who's riding, where they're going, and what the purpose of their trip was. We also wanted to understand perceptions of riders and really help us guide strategic planning as we go forward with operations and understand post-pandemic satisfaction levels. We wanted to identify the key factors that are important to our audiences, and not just now, but also for the future, and gain insights about the strengths and weaknesses through riders' open-ended questions. So, our methodology. We were really pleased that we were able to reach out and survey 1,000 people that were deployed across all cities, unincorporated areas, and it included all day parts as well. And we used multiple methodologies to ensure that everyone could participate. We had electronic, we had paper, we had online, and English and Spanish. Key findings. What was really great about the findings when we originally saw them was that 78% in overall satisfaction ratings, despite the pandemic. Also, when we heard what was it that people were looking for, it was frequency of service was a priority for all riders at 44%. When we looked at commuter link isolated, it was 54%. About 1/3 of riders are dependent on the bus and have no other means of transportation. And a high degree of retention exists among riders, 35%, that have been riding 5 years or more. And what's really exciting is when you see that at least half of those stay 10 or more years. Almost half the riders, 48%, ride 5 or more days a week. And 1/3 of the riders, about 32% of riders, have been riding less than a year. The majority of current riders, 63%, are able to take a single bus to get to their destination. And commuter link riders average about 3 days a week versus all others at 4 days a week. Our rider demographic profile: 55% male, 49% Hispanic, 52% employed, and 32% student. The median income is $16,000, and the median age is 35. When we look at the weekday versus weekend ridership, it really mirrored what our system shows as well. So we were able to do 81% weekday, and we had 19% weekend. When we looked at purpose of trip, we saw, and again, this is a snapshot in time of when people are interviewed, 29% were traveling for work, 20% for school, and 16% for shopping. All others divided among errands and social and recreation. Now, interestingly, do you ride more or less often than before the pandemic? We found 30% are riding more than before, 55% the same, and only 15% less. Rider satisfaction. This is really good. 4.16 in overall satisfaction rating. 51% and 20 are very satisfied, and 27% somewhat satisfied. And when we look at it collectively, we know that this rider satisfaction really mirrors almost exactly what we had in 2018. So we didn't see a huge shift in satisfaction even though there was a pandemic. What are the most satisfied aspects? Well, first and top on the list is bus exterior. So kudos to the maintenance team. And bus driver friendliness and courtesy at 4.25, drivers being the front line, there was many positive comments that were shared. And the third was convenience and ease of use at 4.23, which relates to really communication and technology. The fourth was safety while riding the bus at 4.20, and that really bodes well, I think, for retention. And finally, cleanliness on the bus really speaks well of the brand at 4.18. The least satisfied aspects at 3.89 were safety at the bus stops, which is a little less controllable, frequency of service, operational, and similar to other feedback we've heard. Same with hours of service being operational at 3.80. And cleanliness at bus stops is something that is an ongoing effort, and it still isn't very low when you think of it in terms of the range and the rating. And the RTA website at 3.77, and the reason that came in around 3.77 was just people that had not used the website could not actually comment on it. So what would encourage you to ride more than you do right now? Top of the list was buses running more frequently at 44%, expanded hours of service, lower cost, expanded routes 19%, and shorter trip duration 16%. So more equals more. If we have more, people will ride. Who's riding? Nearly half of the 49% of current riders are Hispanic Latino, followed by 16% African American and 15% non-Hispanic Caucasian. And this mix is consistent across all service tiers. Language is spoken. All respondents spoke either English or Spanish, and 8% of respondents did not speak English. Rider tenure. Rider tenure, what's very interesting about this is that the median is 2 years, and that we look at the combo of less than 12 months, and we see that we have a very high percentage of people that are new to RTA, which is very exciting because that means there's opportunities to retain these customers long term. Rider behavior. How often do you ride RTA buses? 48% ride 5 or more days per week, and this is really our steady base that we can grow by attracting more of the same. Besides the bus, what other transportation alternatives do you have available to you for trips like the one you're taking today? What's interesting about this is that in the first two categories, those are people that either own a car or have access to a vehicle or have other means of transportation, yet they're selecting RTA over that. So that means that we're really becoming a choice ride. And that's very interesting as we move forward, especially in these times with new economic impacts. How did you get to or from the bus stop? Overwhelmingly, we saw that people either walked to their to the bus stop or to their destination. So proximity matters in making it easy to say yes to riding. How do you currently get information on routes and special offers? When we look at the top four, 3 out of the 4 are technology related, and RTA has always been really leading the way on using technology in their planning, and I think it's really paying off because we're seeing people are gravitating towards that. Online survey. So our online survey methodology was running a survey through RTA, through email, social media, and other means. It was not a true random sample, but it was an opportunity for us to hear from the riders, and it was self-selected. So we wanted to learn a lot, especially among those who maybe were no longer riding now, to find out why they stopped riding and see what we could do to bring them back. The profile of the former riders looks a little bit different due to the self-selection. So, on the online survey, what are the main reasons you ride less than you did before the pandemic? And the top 3 are COVID-19, buses do not run when I need them, and no service to the places I need to go. Next is, what would encourage you to ride the bus more often than you do right now? More frequency, expanded routes and locations served, and expanded hours of service were the top. Former riders, what do you like least about RTA? The good news is really the green bar, because 17% said nothing, they had no negative comments, and 30% were some service related, for example, discontinuation of routes or reduced service hours. And we also had open-ended. What do you want to share about your ridership experience? What could RTA do to make the experience the best possible? And again, it comes back to new routes, bringing back discontinued routes, 36%. Buses reliable and on time, 14%, followed by 9% in other feedback categories. People really did not defect. They just, maybe their line was discontinued. So it appears that they really would come back if those lines were restored. Conclusions. RTA continues to have high satisfaction with 78% very or somewhat satisfied, almost identical to the 2018 study. The profile of riders is in many aspects similar to that of 2018 pre-pandemic. Some of the ridership decrease is likely due to a lower number of full-time students, 23% versus 26%. The proportion of employed riders is similar to that of 2018. Now, the average age of riders, though, has changed slightly and is now at age 35, and so a couple years. And ethnicity reflects larger proportions of Hispanics, 49%, and less African Americans at 16%. RTA has done a good job of maintaining customer perceptions of friendly bus drivers and clean, safe, attractive buses. Respondents stated that they would ride more if the buses ran more frequently and the hours are extended and routes are expanded, added, or brought back to pre-pandemic levels. Frequency of buses, expanded service, and longer hours were top factors in the 2018 study previously. closing, I would like to say in looking ahead that, with rising gas prices and many new riders on board for the first time, that there's an opportunity to continue RTA's service excellence and responsiveness and really keep and attract new riders for the future. And we were pleased to work with RTA and hear directly from your riders. And there is really a lot for all of you to be very proud of from all that we heard. And we want to thank CMO Jim Neepkins and Sylvia Meadows for their support. We also want to thank CEO Kristen Orsinski, and we also appreciate all of your attention today. This concludes our presentation. Thank you, Chair Schwank. I'll turn it back to Jim.
Can you stay up here?
Sure.
Just in case they want you. So this item was reviewed at the Board Administration and Operations Committee meeting of March 2nd, 2022. Committee members unanimously approved and recommended this item to the full Board of Directors for their consideration. And the recommendation today is accept the Rider Survey final report. Chair, that completes our comments.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And thank you, Deborah, for the report. Are there any questions or comments from group number 1? And I'm not seeing on my screen. The Zoom on my screen is gone. So we'll go ahead to District 3. I have a District 3, C24.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry.
I'm not District 3, but...
Yeah, we're missing. Director Hoffman, go ahead.
Okay, I'm in Group 3, but I hit the button early. And I'm just curious, because on your online, if I may, on your online survey, when you showed a median income of $16,000, and then you showed an average age of 35 for the riders, which is consistent. And then we go into your former riders, you have a median income of $35,000 with the average age of 35. I'm just trying to understand the discrepancy, because that means that the income doesn't make any sense. The drop almost $20,000 in income from a ridership. And that's why I saw your on your PowerPoint.
Yeah, please step over to the mic. There you go.
Hi, John Carter, Research Director. Greetings to all. Yeah, thank you for the excellent question. So the discrepancy has to do with how the sample was selected. So for the onboard study, which was the 813 sample, that was done on the buses of a random sample of your actual riders. So that was very carefully designed in terms of sample-wise, all different day parts, all different bus routes, weighted exactly to your ridership figures. So I would take that one to the bank, the 16,000. The online survey was basically request was sent out to various email channels and social media. Those who responded basically made up that sample, and it was a noticeably smaller sample. In fact, the former riders section of that sample was in the 40s. I forget 42. So I would take the 16,000 as much more representative.
Well, and the only reason I say it, because that really shows a disadvantaged communities that need the bus routes. And if we can use those numbers, that would help us as far as getting more grants and more things like that to further that, because we are helping the disadvantaged. That's why I was curious about how that number worked and where you got that number. So that may be something that as we progress, the staff could look at that, is to find out where those disadvantaged communities are really concentrated, so that we can make sure our bus routes go there, because we want everybody to exceed and get their incomes up there. And at 16,000, that sounds like it's a lot of high school kids that barely work. They're working at McDonald's making $18 an hour. So I'm just saying the number just didn't pan out. So, but I appreciate the explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you. So my screen is back up, so I can actually see the Zoom again. So we'll stick with Group 1. Does anyone from Group 1 have any questions? Okay, we'll move on to Group number 2. Does anyone from Group 2? Director Krupa.
To go back to Director Hoffman's comment, Do the discrepancies in income have anything to do with the fact that the commuter route, that type of thing, or because I was just thinking if it's high school or college and high school kids that are being surveyed on the bus during a current period of time, and commuter buses weren't necessarily running during COVID, was that any implication? Or if it was online, was it because commuters were doing the survey and commuters you would think would be of a higher income?
Yeah, we actually, if I could take this question. Yeah. We actually did look at income discrepancies by the service tier, and actually surprisingly, the riders on the commuter link tier were not significantly different in income. They did have more full-time employment, but they were basically approximately about the same income level overall. Now, the mix of those that are riding those lines in terms of how many are actually commuting to full-time white-collar jobs, we don't know. We didn't do that kind of breakdown. And so, and just also to back up in terms of the median income, it's not just students. Students were part of it, but there's a great percentage that are currently unemployed or on disability or seniors, and so those groups as well might be on a low fixed income that contributed to the low average income.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Anyone else from group number 2 would like a question or comment? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone from group 2. We'll move on to group number 3. Director Yao.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. That was actually very helpful. Two questions I have for the first question. For folks who stop riding because of discontinued routes, did you have a follow-up question that asked like what were the routes that were affecting them?
In the online survey, we did not have a follow-up question on that.
Okay.
Keep in mind that the former riders was only a sample size of 42, and so it was merely intended as an impressionistic read, as a first read. It was not the major thrust of the survey that we did. The major thrust was to get a cross section of your current riders, and that's what we got, the 813 of those.
Okay, thank you. And second question, well, not so much of a question, but just a thought. You mentioned about safety at bus stop. I think it was around 30% of riders who expressed concern for safety at bus stop. And I recognize that it is something that RTA might not be able to do a whole lot regarding that, but I urge my fellow board members that cities think about it. Maybe it's something that cities can step up and make sure that these bus stops, these bus stands are safer for our riders. So not exactly offering a solution, but just something to think about that, maybe we can, whether it's additional patrol or even making sure that there's lighting, sufficient lighting near the bus stop, or making sure that it's a visible bus stop. I don't know, just some things came to my mind, but yeah, I do think it is something that cities can work on to make sure that it's a little bit safer for our riders.
That's a very wonderful point. Thank you very much, Director Yao. Anyone else from group number 3 that would like to make have a question or a comment?
Yeah, Chair.
Go ahead, Director Marquez.
Yes. Getting back on the safety on bus stops, did you break it down to the cities? When you were asked about the safety at bus stops, did you break it down per city or per area, or was that the overall?
The figure that we cited was overall. What we did break it down into service tier, which doesn't obviously correspond to city. It's more, differences in whether it's local or supporting local or the inter-community connector lines, the regional connectors. It may be possible to split some of that out. However, we probably couldn't split it out for all different cities just because of different sample sizes. Some Cities were less well represented. Some, for example, Riverside, is practically about half of the riders are coming from Riverside, with the rest distributed, with the major municipalities. So it might be possible to split it up, but that's not how we did it so far.
And another one, she had mentioned, one of my colleagues had mentioned the lighting. Now, all our bus shelters, they are lit up at night, aren't they, Jim?
Director Marquez, know that all of them there are not. I don't know what percent, Kristen or Tom maybe can, but we do have significant amount, but not all of them, no.
And that's one of my concerns. If the safety at these bus stops are occurring, or incidents are occurring without the lights, where it's kind of dark, you don't have street lights, that's something we might want to look at by putting a solar panel up there, providing the lighting. When she mentioned about, my colleague mentioned about PD or the city getting involved, RTA doesn't have security in the field, do they?
If I may, Chair, Director Marquez, we have mobile security. So if there is an issue at a bus stop and you call and let us know, or shoot me a text or an email, we'll get mobile security out to help. So we can help with that. Certainly helps to have police departments, helping us out, and especially in some areas where we know it occurs a lot. But we do have some mobile security that the board approved for us to use for things like this. And going back to the lighting, all of our new shelters, all the ones we've been putting out, those all have lighting. It's just some of the older ones that I believe Mr. Franklin and his crew have on a list to start replacing, and we'll be replacing them with the new shelters that have lighting.
Okay, thank you. And the homeless, the security with the homeless and bus stops, was that an issue brought up also on the safety of homeless people?
There may have been some general comments, but the question was just safety in general.
In general?
And
Okay, they didn't specify.
as you've all mentioned, it's just part of life, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Whether they're perceived of homelessness, or, you're standing at a dark bus stop, it's just what it is. But no, nothing is specific.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Jim. Deborah.
And that could even extend out to a bus stop along an arterial, right? You don't feel safe from vehicular traffic, right? So it's not always other people. Okay, anyone else from group number 3? Okay, we'll move on to group number 4. Anyone from group number 4?
I do actually, Chair, if it's okay. I know I spoke already, but I have a follow-up question. So Christine, I think you mentioned certain bus stops were more, what was the word that you used? You mentioned that certain bus stops were, I'm trying to think of the word you used, but basically more dangerous than the others. I apologize if that's not the right word, but do you happen to know where those bus stops are located at?
Hi, Director. Yeah, I think maybe what you had heard was either me saying that we have some older shelters that we're working on replacing, or we have some areas, not that I would not call them dangerous, but I would say that you have some homeless hangout spots and things like that where mobile security might need to go by more often just to kind of move people along. That might be what you're talking about.
Yeah, that you put it in a much nicer way than I would have. Would you happen to know, like, on top of your head, where those bus stops are located at?
They're really in the higher density, higher frequency areas. You tend to see bus stops become hangouts because there's a large turnover of people. There's lots of people to always ask for change from and things like that, and it's kind of easy to blend in and you look like you're waiting for a bus. So some of the downtown areas and some of the hub type areas, but we have security most of the hubs now, and we'll have security at Vine Street, so it hasn't been an issue there.
Awesome. Okay, I'm glad to hear that there's security on site. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Director Yao. Anyone else from group number 4? Okay,
This is Brian Bergson, Group 3, actually. Just a quick comment or question, if I could, Mr. Chair.
go ahead, Director Bergson.
In regards to replacing or plans in the future to replace these shelters that may not have adequate lighting, I just want to make sure that that's not going to take away from the fact that so many of our cities don't have shelters at most of our bus stops in the first place. And I would certainly not want to take away any funding from just initially putting shelters in our cities. So I wanted to just throw that out there and ensure that that discussion is brought to us if that is sometime in the future going to be the plan. Hopefully that made sense.
It did. Thank you, Director Bergson. They're two separate programs, really. So we have a refurbishment program that's ongoing through operating costs, which is what we would use to replace the older shelters, to do things like paint the shelters we have, remove graffiti, things like that. The shelter program, where we have the board policy, the bus stop strategic policy, is board approved, and that is based on ridership levels and also geographic location, so that we can bring some equity to that policy. So they're two separate things. In the case of changing out old shelters with newer ones, it would be a different program than the one that you're speaking about, where we allocate shelters to all the jurisdictions.
Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Right, and Kristen, maybe there's probably some value in bringing the bus shelter presentation maybe to committee meetings so that we can get a better understanding, if it's not already sort of in the queue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, thank you. Joan, have you received any requests in writing to speak on this?
Chair, I have not.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience or online that would like to make a comment? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion and a second to accept this item.
Moreno Valley. Moreno Valley moves.
Okay,
Accept.
Moreno Valley moves.
District 1.
I will do a District 1 second. Sorry, Norco. I'll get you next time. Joan, will you please take the roll call vote?
Yes. City of Banning. City of Beaumont.
I want to give you some
Aye.
heads up in case you're doing something naughty.
City,
If we could, if we could all please remute our devices. Go ahead, John.
City of Calamasa.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm at a hospital, yes.
City of Canyon Lake. City of Corona.
Yes.
City of Eastvale.
Yes.
City of Hemet.
Yes.
City of Harupa Valley.
Yes.
City of Lake Elsinore.
Aye.
City of Menifee.
Yes.
City of Moreno Valley.
Yes.
City of Murrieta.
Yes.
City of Norco.
Yes.
City of Paris.
Yes.
City of Riverside. City of San Jacinto. City of Temecula.
Yes.
City of Wildemar.
Yes.
County of Riverside District 1.
Yes.
County of Riverside District 2.
Yes.
County of Riverside District 3.
Yes.
County of Riverside District 5.
Yes.
We had 18 yays.
Great. Thank you very much, Joan. Next is item number 11, approve and adopt the agency's initial climate action plan, pathway to zero emissions vehicles. Jennifer Nguyen will present. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Schwank and members of the board. My name is Jennifer Nguyen, and I am the agency's Director of Planning. The item before you today is to approve and adopt the agency's initial climate action plan, Pathway to Zero Emissions. On April 22nd, 2021, President Biden announced an ambitious goal for the United States to achieve a 50 to 52% reduction from 2005 levels in economy-wide net greenhouse gas, or GHG, pollution by 2030. In the United States, the transportation sector accounts for the largest source of GHG emissions at 29%, with the majority of transportation emissions coming from cars, trucks, ships, trains, and planes. GHG emissions have environmental and health effects ranging from rising global temperatures and extreme weather events to respiratory diseases due to increased smog and air pollution. The agency is already committed to providing safe, clean, and sustainable public transportation. The California Air Resources Board, or CARB's, innovative clean transit regulation requires all transit agencies to gradually transition to a 100% zero-emission bus, or ZEB, fleet, with the goal of a full transition by the year 2040. In December 2020, the board adopted the zero-emission bus rollout and implementation plan to formalize the agency's steps towards achieving that goal. On June 15, 2021, the Federal Transit Administration, or FTA, launched the Sustainable Transit for a Healthy Planet Challenge to encourage transit agencies to further reduce GHG emissions from public transportation. The challenge encourages transit agencies to take bold actions and investments to cut GHG emissions. The challenge calls on agencies to develop climate action strategies with key metrics to achieve those emission goals. GHG reduction strategies include converting fleets to electric buses and making our facilities more energy efficient. To further establish the agency's commitment to a zero-emission fleet and to assist with future grant funding, staff is recommending that RTA participate in the challenge and submit a board-approved Climate Action Plan, or CAP, per the FTA requirements. Consistent with the zero-emission bus rollout and implementation plan, the CAP outlines the same schedule for the agency's transition to zero-emission hydrogen fuel cell electric buses, or FCEBs, and creates measurable goals based on this plan. The CAP includes the following goals: decrease GHG emissions from heavy-duty revenue buses by 20% from 2021 levels by the year 2035, transition our non-revenue support vehicle fleet to 100% electric by the year 2035, plan facility modifications to accommodate new zero-emission technology, collaborate with our government and community organizations and educational institutions to accelerate innovative technologies that further reduce GHGs. And lastly, optimize service efficiency and implement projects that really focus on increasing our ridership. The agency is not required to achieve the goals of the CAP, and we will not be penalized if they are not met in the timeframe that we indicated. The CAP is meant to provide the agency with a framework of measurable strategies that can be implemented to help work towards and achieve the goals. Just like the zero-emission bus rollout and implementation plan, the CAP is a living document that will continue to be built upon and reevaluated in future years as our technology improves, our goals are adjusted, or our agency plans or resources change. As the agency seeks ZEB-related funding through our competitive grants, the CAP will strengthen our applications and highlight our commitment to transitioning to FCEBs and decreasing GHG emissions. There is no fiscal impact associated with this item. This item was discussed at the Board Administration Operations Committee meeting on March 2nd, 2022. The board committee members unanimously approved and recommended this item to the full Board of Directors for your consideration. The recommendation before you today is as follows. Approve and adopt the agency's Climate Action Plan, Pathway to Zero Emissions, and authorize the Chief Executive Officer or assigned designee to submit the Climate Action Plan, Pathway to Zero Emissions, to the Federal Transit Administration. Thank you, Chair Schwenk. That completes my presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions or comments from group number 1? Any questions or comments from group number 2?
Yes.
Director Krupa?
I've missed you all, so I just have to talk today. I don't know if I missed this in the report. Does the plan have to be approved by the FTA?
It has to be board approved by here, and then we just submit it to the FTA.
So they don't
there's
have
no
to rule.
approval point for the FTA.
Okay, so they're not.
It's just
they're
like a
not
submission.
Like, not like CARB when they have to. Okay, that's all I needed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from group number 2? Group number 3. And we'll move on to group number 4. All right. Joan, have you received any requests to speak in writing?
Chair, I have not.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience or online that would like to make a comment on this item? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve in a second.
Corona moves.
Yeah,
Norco, then Corona.
I got a Norco first and a Corona second. Joan, will you please take the roll call vote?
City of Banning? City of Beaumont?
Aye.
City of Calamasa?
Yes.
City of Canyon Lake?
Aye.
City of Corona?
Yes.
City of Eastvale?
Yes.
City of Hammett?
Yes.
City of Harupa Valley?
Yes.
City of Lake Elsinore?
Aye.
City of Menifee?
Yes.
City of Marietta?
Yes.
City of Norco?
Yes.
City of Paris?
Yes.
City of Riverside? City of San Jacinto? City of Temecula?
Yes.
City of Wildemar?
Yes.
County of Riverside District 1?
Yes.
County of Riverside District 2?
Yes.
County of Riverside District 3?
Yes.
County of Riverside District 5?
Yes.
Chair, that is 18 yeas, unanimous.
Great, thank you very much, Joan. Next is item number 12, authorization to award agreement number P-22-001F to RCN Technologies for the purchase of routers and antennas. Ehab Azab will present. Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Chair Chuang and all the Board of Directors, here in person and online. My name is Ehab Azab. I am the Chief Procurement and Logistics Officer for the agency. The item before you today is a request to authorize the award of agreement number P-22-001F to RCN Technologies for the purchase of routers and antennas. In year 2013, the agency purchased Intelligent Transportation System, which include mobile router onboard every fixed route vehicle. The onboard router is the hub for all cellular, Ethernet, and Wi-Fi communication. In the past 9 years, technology has evolved significantly. The routers originally installed need to be replaced with more modern devices. The project will include 218 ruggedized routers and roof-mounted antennas that support modern communication standard and increase download speed for passengers and the agency. These devices also provide more secure connection between the buses and the servers, which by turn facilitate voice and data communication between dispatch and coach operators. These routers will be managed via cloud-based portal, simplifying administrative tasks associated with them. In January 14, 2022, staff issued an invitation for bid known as IFB. The IFB was publicly advertised in a newspaper of general circulation, and an announcement was posted on the agency website along with a copy of the IFB documents. The agency also sent notices to the Chamber of Commerce for the cities that are members of the Joint Powers Agreement. On February 4, 2022, the agency received bids from the 6 bidders listed in the agenda, page 151 and 152. As you can see, the bid received ranging from $334,000 to $460,000. The lowest price received is from company name RCN Technology of Knoxville, Tennessee, of a total bid price of $334,401.40. Staff reviewed the low bid submittal to ensure compliance with the IFP requirements. Staff issued an invitation for bid to RCN Technology because their bid was considerably lower than the second low bid. The difference is about 17%. In response, RCN Technology confirmed that their bid was in full compliance of the IFP requirements. Based on detailed responsiveness and responsibility checks, staff determined the bid received from RCN Technology to be the lowest responsive bid from a responsible bidder. The price is also found to be fair and reasonable in comparison to the independent cost estimate, and that all bids were received under full and open competition. Sufficient funds to cover this request are included on the agency board-approved capital budget, the funding profile shown in page 152 of the agenda. This item was discussed at the Board Budget and Finance Committee meeting on March 2nd, 2022. The committee members unanimously approved and recommend this item for your consideration. During committee meeting, committee member asked whether RCN Technology did business with the agency in the past, and whether the scope of work includes all what is required to replace the old routers with the new routers. RCN Technology did not do business with the agency in the past. The agency does its best to include all potential bidders and maximize competition. Staff made sure that RCN Technology understands the scope and have priced in full compliance with the IP requirements. As for the scope, it was planned to have two separate solicitations for the complete project. One solicitation for the purchase of hardware, which is the item before you today, and the other one is for removal of the routers and installation of the new one, removal of the old routers and installation of the new one. The rationale is to get more cost-efficient prices, since most hardware sellers do not offer installation, and installation contractors do not stock inventory, hardware inventory. The installation package was also bid under full and open competition. The price came less than $100,000, and the award is contingent upon your approval for the hardware. Therefore, the request before you today is to authorize the staff to award agreement number P22001F to RCN Technologies for the purchase of routers and antennas for a total project amount of $334,401.40. Chair Schwang, board members, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions or comments from group number 1? Questions or comments from group number 2? Questions or comments from group number 3? Questions or comments from group number 4? There you go.
Thank you, Chairman Strike. With regard to RCN Technology, do they manufacture the routers themselves, or do they source the routers that they're going to be installing?
They are a vendor. They are not a manufacturer. They are a authorized vendor.
Okay. Thank you.
They will buy the hardware.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments from group number 4? See District 1, seat 23. Yeah, the phantom seat. Okay, moving on. Is there, Joan, have you received any requests to speak in writing?
Chair, I have not.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience or online that would like to make a comment on this item? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve this item.
Calamesa moves.
And I'll second.
Calamesa.
Hold on a second.
And a Hemet second. Joan, will you please take the roll call vote?
City of Banning. City of Beaumont.
Aye.
City of Calamasa.
Yes.
City of Canyon Lake.
Aye.
City of Corona.
Yes.
City of Eastville.
Yes.
City of Hemet.
Yes.
City of Harupa Valley.
Yes.
City of Lake Elsinore.
Aye.
City of Menifee. City of Moreno Valley. City of Murrieta.
Yes.
City of Paris.
Yes.
City of Riverside. City of San Jacinto. City of Temecula.
Yes.
City of Wildemore.
Yes.
County of Riverside, District 1.
Yes.
County of Riverside District 2,
Yes.
County of Riverside District 3,
Yes.
County of Riverside District 5.
Yes.
Chair, that is 16 yeas, unanimous.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, everyone. I know that's going to be a welcome improvement for our riders. Okay, next is item number 13, which is our board member comments. We'll go ahead and start with group number 1. If anyone in group number 1 has any comments.
It's a good job today, Chair. Another first that's hybrid, so you're doing great.
Thank you. It's harder than it looks. It's very difficult. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Okay, anyone else from group number 1? Okay, group number 2. My head's on a swivel.
Chair, this is Tim Sheridan from Lake Elsinore.
Go ahead, Director Sheridan.
Thank you, sir. I just want to make note that the I-15 Railroad Canyon interchange is almost completed, and the ribbon cutting is going to take place on April 21st, 2022, between 10:45 a.m. or 11 a.m. to 11:45 at Grape Street, right there in the old Walmart Plaza. And so you're all invited to come out and cut the ribbon with us on this project that is long overdue in Lake Elsinore. And we're very excited. It will help out Canyon Lake and Menifee as well. And we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Great, thank you for the invite. Anyone else from group number 2? Okay, group number 3. Any comments from board members in group number 3? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Group number 4. All right, hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is our announcements. Our CEO, Kristen Warsinski.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of quick things. Ridership, I promised an update in last week. We finally hit over 15,000 riders a day. We have not hit that since the pandemic hit us, so it was really nice to see consistently for March. We're looking to be up. We do have the 25-cent fare going on, so thanks to all of you for approving that. It sounds like it's going really well. Passengers like it, and ridership is going in the right direction. As far as the grants that I sent out go and that Mr. Church, mentioned, the $15.5 million in operating assistance from ARPA is going to go a long way towards helping us fund the fiscal year 23 budget. We used all of the stimulus money that we were allocated the last couple of years, and there isn't any more of that. So this was a big deal for us. And then the $8.78 million is for our 2 hydrogen fueling stations, both locations, Riverside and Hemet. It's to construct them, as well as money for training for our staff so that we can train them on the new technology. So both of those are a really big deal. And I just wanted to say a special thank you to Jennifer Nguyen. We promoted her to Director of Planning a couple of weeks ago, but she was our grants manager. She did those grants, and it's been a long time that RTA has been trying to get our hands on some of this federal competitive funding, so it's a big deal. Just want to say thanks to Jennifer.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, next is item number 15, our next meeting, Thursday. The Board of Directors is scheduled for Thursday, April 28th, 2022 at 2 p.m. And at 3:32, I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Great job.